Welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League Show, your place for rational takes, not hot takes. I'm Emmett Swarat. I'm here with my co-host, Brendyn Ford.
Yo.
You guys can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok's the last one. There we go. I know there's always 5. I just can't always remember what the 5th one is. All right. This week we're going to be talking about the college conference realignment. We're going to talk about Nick Bosa's new contract that he's about to sign or is going to sign soon. We're going to talk about what the Buffalo Bills need to do to get over that hump. Playoff changes that we think, so teams that are going to fall off are going to come in, and teams that are on the rise. So with that being said, B, let's jump right into this. Is the Pac-12 dead? Yeah, probably.
It is.
Yeah, I know you've seen it. I know. I'm sure our viewers here, listeners, have seen it at this point. It's been all over everything. But in the last couple of weeks, Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, USC, UCLA, Utah, and Colorado have all left for the Big Ten or Big 12. That leaves the Pac-12 down to just 4 schools remaining, which I believe we talked was Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, and Stanford. I know there was some discussion about rivalry games. I think that's an easy solution. You can just probably keep them as, non-conference scheduled games every year, which I think officials from Washington and Oregon already did confirm they would continue to do every year. So those games will still be alive from here. I guess we'll start off with this. Where do you think the Pac-12 goes from here?
The trash. I don't know what are they even supposed to do at this point? You have 4 schools, and none of those schools are really good either. So it's what do you even do? So this whole thing blow up. When I say the whole thing, the Pac-12, they'll blow up because the whole Apple TV deal, and they'll be making $20-something million a year instead of 30 to 40 million every other Power 5 conference. Is that what happened? What even happened?
So what kind of happened with this whole thing is the Pac-12's media deal with Fox and ESPN ended. And then after that, so pretty much because of that, the teams now could exit without having to pay the normal exit fee. For example, we looked up, I think, for the Mountain West, if any team wanted to leave the Mountain West Conference before the 2025-2026 season, they'd have to pay a $32 million exit fee. So that's when we say exit fee. But because there's no media deal right now for the Pac-12, all these teams can leave currently for free. I know a lot of them are holding out to see what the deal would be. And the new commissioner or newer commissioner for the Pac-12, who has a casino entertainment background, apparently has been negotiating exclusively with Apple TV to bring the Pac-12 would only be shown if you have an Apple TV subscription. And even I think more than that, you have to have Apple TV, then you have to get the Pac-12 subscription on that. So I mean, the chances of people doing that just to watch, it's kind of
it'll be a whole damn add-on to watch your favorite team after
it's kind of
a sub to an extra platform.
Exactly, it's a similar concept to what they did with Major League Soccer. So the deal currently that's being discussed, or is the back end of the negotiating process at this point, is a 5-year deal worth $25 million per school. They also have incentives. So for every person that subscribes to that new Pac-12 streaming product, they get an extra payout. So I think they were saying that Apple TV has 1.5 million subscribers right now. If all of them were to subscribe to the Pac-12 streaming service, it would push the deal up to about 35 million, which is what the Big 12, I believe, Big 10, their contract is. The problem is that it seems to be the big problem with schools right now is it does limit your attention, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Your marketability, I guess how much attention you kind of are getting.
Engagement. Yeah.
Right. It's like free advertising, because when your school's playing, you have people who are watching and going, oh, well, no, I'd really love to go to Oregon, or they get to run their ads for, oh, by the way, Oregon has a great science program. So it's kind of just a way to promote the school that you don't really get anymore, because it's not just on regular, networks where, you might be flipping through the channels and see and go, oh, well, I might as well watch this game. You specifically have to have this package in order to watch it. So the only people that are going to watch it were already Pac-12 fans anyway, and not some random SEC person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much concludes the background of why this has kind of started happening.
Which makes sense, and thank you for that. So basically, the Pac-12 can either try to recruit schools from other conferences or try to merge with another conference, right? So,
right,
like the Mountain West is right there around the same region. Do they try to merge with them? Maybe, I don't know. They try to just either it'll be a full-on merge, or they try to just take schools away from the Mountain West. So I don't know which way they should really go. I feel like either way, the conference is fucking trash right now. I'm sorry, but it is.
It's kind of what we were kind of saying is it's going to be difficult to try to pull schools away because each one of these schools, if they want to leave, is going to have to pay $32 million to get out of their deal.
32 mil. Yeah.
So unless you're really hitting the full incentive with Apple TV, it's going to take you a few years to even get your money back on that. And then is it really even worth it? Are you really going to get that much more attention than what you're currently getting as it is? Now, you can make an argument that you might because you're going to be playing against Stanford and Cal and, Washington State and Oregon State, which obviously have some bigger name players, but you're still going to only be on this one streaming service versus, every TV in America on Fox or ESPN or CBS or whatever else you could be getting it on.
Yeah, and I remember we saw that each team in the Mountain West might be making $4 million a year. Now, guys, I don't know how credible that source was, but so it looks like if they join the Pac-12, they get a pretty good jump in annual revenue from their TV deal. But to your point, they would have to pay the $32 million fee to even make that jump over.
Right.
So. I don't think it's really worth it. Maybe would the Pac-12 teams right now, the last four, go independent? Maybe after next year, is that a credible path?
Yeah, it seems like really the only three options would be either the Pac-12 dissolves, which is kind of what you're suggesting by them all going independent. The Pac-12 would just dissolve, and the four main teams would either have to join another conference or do it like Notre Dame does and just join a different conference every year. Which I doubt they really would do. They'd probably just get scooped up by somebody else. They could do that. They could try to pull teams. Again, obviously it makes the most sense with the Mountain West because you have San Diego State, Boise State, Colorado State, UNLV, Air Force, Utah State, Nevada, Fresno State, Wyoming, New Mexico, and San Jose State. They could do that. We also suggested or were thinking they could possibly even pull FCS schools if they wanted to. Sac State's been really good for a couple of years now. North Dakota State's awesome, so maybe I don't know what those schools' media deals and rights are. I imagine probably nothing too crazy because I don't even think Sac State's a nationally televised game.
Yeah,
so
it can be more than $1 million a year or something like that.
Yeah, so maybe you can just get some of those schools to join in the interim until someone else's media deal ends. Then you can try to recruit more. Or you just merge with the Mountain West Conference, which essentially is the same thing. You're just dissolving the Pac-12. So
yeah. Do we know for a fact if the Big 12 and Big 10 are done expanding? What if they go after the Final Four teams then?
I'm sure they already are. I'm sure Stanford and Cal and Washington State and Oregon State already have offers. I just don't think Cal and Stanford care too much about their football program to make a change. And I think Washington State. I mean, really, when's the last time? How many Stanford and Cal fans have you seen be super angry about this? Yeah, it's all Oregon State and Washington State fans. So, and Washington, it'd be kind of weird at this point for Washington and Oregon State to bail after they've been so vocal about how wrong this is for Washington and Oregon to bail.
I'm intrigued to see if Pac-12 even will have an option. What if the rest of the four teams just leave? And then they just dissolve just because there's no teams left.
Yeah, of all the scenarios, that does seem the most likely. Which that's just such a bad indictment on the commissioner.
That's wild.
You went from negotiating a media deal to losing your conference entirely. So that's just got to be
that dude has to be fired. That dude has to be fired by next week.
Yeah, he won't have a job. There'll be no Pac-12 to be a commissioner of. Yeah, of course he's going to have a job.
Imagine step in office and you just lose your entire conference.
Yeah,
Like,
that is
oh my
wild to me.
god!
But I
Like
mean,
I'm
that's
only laughing because it's so like mind blowing, bro. Like that's
yeah,
wild.
yeah. Again, if it were me, I would be on the phone with as many Mountain West schools as I can, trying to negotiate, see who I can get to jump ship, pay the $32 million. Because I mean, I feel like in the long run of the deal, you're going to make more. And the deal with Apple TV also has a 3-year opt out. So if at 3 years they're not hitting the incentives they wanted, the Pac-12 could opt out of that deal and go chase a more traditional network deal. I don't know what the conference would be worth at that point. Probably it'd have to have hurt its value a lot, but. I mean, again, I think all these schools
Apple TV.
Yeah, I think all these schools
would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think all these schools would definitely get a bump. Playing against Stanford and Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal versus what they currently get right now. Because I mean, I feel like you never see these guys on TV. And there's been some good players recently that have come out of San Jose State and South Dakota State, or I'm sorry, San Diego State, and even Jordan Love from Utah State. So there's some talent there. It just, I think that additional media would help. So it could, some of these teams could look at it as an incentive, like, oh, we currently don't get a whole lot of national TV time as it is. This Apple TV deal playing against Stanford is going to be much better than what we currently get right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time you watched a Nevada game?
Dude, I can't even tell you. I think going back to the other options I have, I feel like pulling FCS schools into the conference would probably, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, I personally would not like the idea. Just because like, Pac-12 was for a time like a powerhouse conference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you bring in some FCS schools, which I'm not trying to knock a FCS school, but we're not going to like pretend like a Sac State's on the same level as like Oregon. You know what I mean? Like just how do you even say a Pac-12 conference is a Power 5 conference then if you pull in 8 other FCS schools?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of talent that comes out of Northern California. So I mean, you got to think. I think the state championship is always in between. Folsom High School is up here, and Mater Dei, who's down in I believe the SoCal area. So I mean, there's a lot of talent in Northern California, and with Sac State having an increased pool to use or resources to try to recruit, they might be able to get better talent instead of going out of state to stay in state, and it could make them a more valuable product. We're obviously talking about extreme hypotheticals, and for the Pac-12, this is strictly just to be about survival. So, I mean, you could, if you're the Pac-12, this would be like the best scenario possibly for them. They're able to pull San Diego State, San Jose State, Utah State, and Fresno State possibly from the Mountain West if they could do that, and then get, like I was saying, Sac State probably, and then maybe North Dakota, just to keep them.
North Dakota State should be pulled up.
Yeah, North Dakota State. And I think there's one more FCS school that I can't think of off the top of my head that's really good. It might be Montana State.
South Dakota State's pretty good too.
Yeah, they're pretty good. But if you can just get it, if you can get 4 of the FCS schools, you can get 4 of the Mountain West schools. That gets you at 12. Now you still have your 6-6 conference. It keeps you viable and alive. So when some of these other media deals do end, you can maybe poach a school too. But you're definitely, no matter how you slice it, you're having to start over and build yourself back up. When you lose, 8 schools? I mean, there's no way you aren't having to build yourself back up at this point. So,
I mean, could you even think of a world where there's not really like a West Coast conference? Like there's the Mountain West, which is the farthest west, like conference. Like there'd be nothing in the West Coast. Because, I mean, of course, like obviously, like those teams are joining a different conference, but like there's no like West Coast like specific conference.
Well, I'm curious to see how it goes for the teams that are leaving and joining the Big Ten. I mean, how the UCLA going up to Michigan to play every year is going to be a much different experience for them. I remember some people kind of pointed out that this has happened before with schools. Like, I think it was it Vanderbilt? No, it was Missouri that joined like the SEC. And ever since then they've been a trash team that no one thinks about anymore. So sometimes it's not bad to sit here and be the big fish in your pond and stay there, because when you go join that bigger pond that's been in the bigger pond for, the fish that have been there for 20 or 30 years, whatever, you're not really going to stack up, and now you've lost Now you've hurt your reputation, lost your reputation. Before, like, for example, Missouri might have been a great school, and now they're looked at as like a joke. So,
yeah, it's true.
But
That's fair.
All right, let's move on here. Is Nick Bosa going to be the highest paid defender in NFL history? Probably. He is currently holding. Very simple. We do things straight to the point. This could be a 5-second show if we wanted to.
It really could.
He is currently holding out from training camp until he gets a new deal. Sources, not our sources we've seen from other people, currently state that he's looking to break Aaron Donald's 3-year, $95 million deal with $46.5 million guaranteed at signing. That's a $31.6 million per year average. He has 43 sacks in 51 games. He's only missed one season due to an ACL tear in 2020, and he won Defensive Player of the Year award last year, as well as he's only 26 years old. John Lynch says he feels confident they will get him signed before the season starts. So,
okay.
Do you think he's worth that kind of deal? Do you think he's asking too much? What are your thoughts?
Dude, I will give that man a blank check and be like, here, you can have whatever fucking money you want. No, dude, he's awesome. He's a game changer. He's a team changer. I love Nick. This edge rusher market is crazy, so it would not surprise me. And I know you brought up Donald and his 31-year average. I think he's getting there now. Yeah. T.J. Watt is the highest paid this edge rusher at $28 million. So he would really be setting the market pretty well if he got north of 31 mil.
Yeah, maybe
I would give it to him.
Yeah. I mean, I think we kind of talked a little bit. At least I'll say it's my prediction. My prediction is I think he gets a 4-year, $132 million deal, probably with $64 million guaranteed. That'd put him about $33 million per year, which beats Aaron Donald. He'd have more guarantees than Aaron Donald, and it's a shorter contract, so I think he'd be a free agent, quote unquote free agent, at 30 at the end of the deal, as if the 49ers would let him walk. But he would be resetting the market on all aspects, which, I mean, that's kind of what he's been since he's gotten to San Francisco. It's just been an absolute culture resetter. So I guess my only concern I have about this situation right now is we still have several weeks to go before the season, but at what point should the 49ers start getting concerned that he's either going to, A, miss games, or B, he's going to have a slow start because of the missed training camp?
That's a good question, man. I mean, he needs to get in camp and start preparing his body. You know what I mean? I would probably be concerned. I'll just say maybe 2 to 3 weeks before season starts if he's not there, just because he has to get out there. He has to prepare his body. I mean, he's good enough to step in the field week one, right? But you don't want that, because I know he had injury problems, and just for anyone, if they haven't played full speed all summer and you step into a damn game, your chances of getting hurt are just higher. That's just fact. So
there's no
probably
way to create that speed.
Yeah, I think if he's not there 2 weeks before season starts, I would be like, okay, what's really going on here? I am worried. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, I think at that point, if we get to preseason game 3 and he's still not signed, I'd be very concerned about him, because I mean, like you mentioned, you can't you can't just step on the field and be that dude, no matter how talented you are. Now again, I think he can still come out and be great and everything, but my biggest concern for him is you do open yourself up to potentially injury, because what a lot of this OTA stuff and training camp stuff is it's slowly ramping the body up. That's why you come out there and you start off with just helmets or nothing. Then you do a couple of days of that. Then you go pads. Then you go a couple of days off with pads. You're trying to you're getting the body acclimated. I'm sure, as you kind of remember, they used to tell you the first day of camp is, hey, remember this feeling, because your body's not going to feel like this ever again, or not going to feel like this until the end of the season. So you're never going to be this healthy. Yeah. So to come in and miss that, warm up, that build up portion, you do really open yourself up to soft tissue injuries, core injuries, which he's had before, or, pulling a hamstring. How many times have we seen a guy do that? Sit out, come in week 1, week 2, hamstring injury, quad injury. Now they're out 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So That
I
would be
mean,
my biggest concern with him right now.
the only alternative too is like, let's say he does join the team late. The 49ers staff could put him on like a pitch count for the first couple
Yeah.
of weeks, but then that's not ideal because then that hurts the team too. Like you
Right.
want that guy out there for all 3 downs for an entire game.
Yeah.
You
He's
don't want
their
this one
edge
out there for
rusher.
a third down. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's also edge rush, but he also stops like the run well too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's not just a pass rush, specialist for third down or second and long type stuff. He's out there every damn down.
Right.
And he's one of the best players. You would want him out there for the entire game. So I hope they can get this contract done within the next week or two for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, the longer it goes, the more you really got to get kind of worried about the injuries and the slow start. So hopefully they get this thing wrapped up. I'm sure, knowing our luck, by the minute we finish recording this, they're going to announce the deal, or tomorrow it's going to be announced right as we post it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
hey, that'll be dope because then we'll go viral because you got the exact contract and the numbers down right, and then boom.
Exactly. That's how you
so
make
it's a win for everyone.
We should just keep making alternative clips where we just guess every number. So whenever whenever the actual details come out, we have, hey, look at that. We called it. If you watch the show.
If we do like 1,000 takes of us guessing the numbers and years.
That'd be hella funny. we're hedging our bets here. Okay. Perfect. So don't be alarmed with this statement, but the Buffalo Bills are your 2023 Super Bowl champs. How do they get there? How do they make that headline become a reality? B. What are they missing? They've got the talent. They've got Josh Allen at quarterback. They've got Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I mean, their defense is stacked. We just looked at the roster right before this. What are they missing?
They're missing a solid run game, which I'm hoping for fantasy football wise, James Cook will be that guy that's the 3-down back. Feed him the ball. The running game. You help out the passing game. You help out Allen. Blah blah blah. Also, like they have blah blah blah. They have so much talent too, which is tough. So like Von Miller tore his ACL, I think it was right. Towards like I think the middle of last season or middle to the end, something like that. Which really hindered that team. Like I really wonder what would have happened with that 2022-2023 Bills team if Von Miller did not get hurt. Hopefully he comes back this season healthy and they're able to finish a strong season. He can stay healthy. Other than that, dude, like just win the big games. Like that's like the only thing. Like execute in the big games, the big moments, and just get it done because they have all the pieces there. Like I can't sit here and tell you, oh, they need this guy, they need a guy here, blah blah blah. Like they have a top 3 quarterback, they have a top 5 receiver, their O-line's solid, their defense is good. They have one of the best edge rushers ever playing for them right now. Just get it done. Like I don't know what else to really say. What do you think?
It's kind of funny when you start to. I had the depth chart pulled up right here. It's kind of funny to see look at like just the depth of talent on this team. Like there's some names on here that really surprised me. Apparently, Latavius Murray's still on the team. He's their third string back right now.
Wait, is it really?
It's
random.
I know that's what I'm seeing here. Like, and if we're Buffalo Bills fans, if we're wrong, please let us know. But I pulled up the depth chart and that's what it says. And Latavius Murray is the third string back. They have Keyshawn Johnson on the team still. Shane Ray, you remember Shane Ray he was drafted by the Denver Broncos? Apparently, he's their fourth string defensive end. AJ Klein is on the team still. I know it's kind of. Here's what I didn't realize: Tyler Rapp he was the Rams starting safety the past few years.
Safety.
Yep, he's now their backup strong safety. So I mean, it just kind of goes to show how deep this team really is. And we were kind of thinking about this of like, what do they need to fix? Like, is it a defensive issue? Is it a run game issue? I know we talked about the run game a little bit. And, I wanted to mention something about the defense, but the more I look at the defense, it just doesn't seem like an issue to me at all. I mean, they got Greg Rousseau, I believe that's how you say his last name, who's solid. Ed Oliver's a beast.
No clue how to say his last name. Yeah.
They got Daquan Jones. They have Von Miller still. They just signed Leonard Floyd. Shaq Lawson, Jordan. I mean, I'm just gonna. I know I'm just kind of saying
the safeties.
Yeah, they just drafted AJ. Oh gosh, Epenisa.
Yeah,
Epenisa?
Yeah, he's second. I think he's on second team right now. Edge.
Yeah, he was the guy out of Army, right? The defensive end. He was supposed to be solid. So. I mean, you have Matt Milano, who's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. You have Tre'Davious White, who's a great corner.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Yeah, you have Tre'Davious White.
AJ.
Oh, yes, he went to Iowa. That's what it was. Defensive end of Iowa. Yeah, great dude.
So they have talent over the fucking board.
Yeah,
bro.
Jordan Poyer, Micah. I mean, again, they have talent all across the board. I think it really is a matter of they need to improve their run game, and it sounds so ridiculously simple to say that, but you got to think of what that run game does for Josh Allen and the Bills. Sets a play action, obviously, but we've currently seen, and again, Bills fans can jump in our comments and yell at us and stuff, but when Josh Allen throws the ball too much, he has those 50 attempt games, he becomes much more turnover prone. You need to be able to protect him by being able to not always have to rely on him to get the first down for it. If it's third and short, you have a back that can get that first down versus having to always expect him to throw for it. It also helps, when you're playing a Patrick Mahomes, as you inevitably are going to have to do again once you get to the playoffs. It helps keep Patrick Mahomes off the field and helps with clock management. Helps control the clock and protect. You're not going to have another one of those he got down the field in 13-second kind of plays. Which side tangent, just a little side tangent. I really hate how much people sit here and look at that and go, "Oh, that was Patrick Mahomes can score in 13 seconds." Let's call it what it really was. First of all, great play calling by Andy Reid. Second of all, what the fuck was the Buffalo Bills defense doing? I think it was the first play.
Yeah. It
was essentially just, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank on it now. It was a pass, I think, to the running back. No, it was a screen to Tyreek Hill. That's what it was. It was a screen to Tyreek Hill. And the Bills defense were all playing off coverage, which again makes sense because you're just trying not to give up too much. But you got to treat it like a regular play because they need a field goal. So they don't need to cover the whole field. You can't be playing cover. Oh my gosh, what's it called? Not quarters. What's
like prevent?
Yeah, you can't be playing prevent. You got to still, treat it closer to a regular play.
Yeah.
Which I think it was on that first play they picked up 20 yards. And then the second play they hit just a seam to Travis Kelce, which got him right into field goal range. So I mean, it wasn't anything Patrick Mahomes did that was special. It was kind of more faulty play calling on the defense. And great play calling by Andy Reid. But it wasn't like Mahomes did something special out there. Okay, so that's the end of my tangent and my rant. But it's just every time I see that, it's always like, oh, he scored in 13 seconds. I'm like, he didn't really do it. I mean, great play calling. And then what was Buffalo doing?
Yeah, it was a great effort. And then also this prevent defense for the Bills. Like, this gave him so much cushion. It was kind of easy.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, you only had like 50 yards to play with. I mean, you can't give up a 20-yard screen and then a 20-yard, seam. Like, you need to treat it like regular defense. I can understand maybe going with a quarters coverage because you don't want to get beat over the top, obviously. But you still got to have, your linebackers there to keep a screen at a 6-yard gain and not a 20-yard gain. Or, a seam, someone to cover and take away the seam still. But, all right, so again, now I promise my tangent, my rant is over. Buffalo, you need to get a run game. So there's not 13 seconds left in the clock. And the defense needs to be play calling. Maybe that's also what needs to be improved. So some better defensive play calling. Because I remember, what was it, this past offseason playoffs? I think it was they were playing the Dolphins, and that game seemed much closer than it probably should have ever been because they were running with their fourth-string quarterback Skylar Thompson. And with how much talent Buffalo had, that game should never have been close. But I think if I remember correctly,
it was like a one-score game, right? It was like less than 7, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Can you pull up the stats from that game? Just because I remember just thinking like, they're going to lose this game? Why is Josh Allen keep throwing these ridiculous interceptions? It just kind of all goes back to it. You need to have that run game insulated to insulate Josh Allen to help protect him. And especially because they use him as the lead back sometimes. They run Josh Allen so much. And it's like you want to be able to rely on Josh Allen to be able to scramble and take off, and an occasional catch him off quarterback power kind of a thing, and not have to use him as your lead back every time. You're a better run game also protects him from injury in this case as well. But
Yeah, I feel like obviously Josh Allen, top three quarterback.
yeah,
But I feel like sometimes they rely on him to be like the hero too much.
yeah,
Like
the
so much,
Superman.
a guy can only take so much weight. You know what I mean? Like I feel like at times maybe he just to your point with him throwing picks. Like maybe he just feels like he has to force stuff to get the offense moving because it's just him
Yeah,
and he's him in the passing game, and then he's a really good rushing threat. So maybe he's like maybe getting James Cook going. Um, Hines is out for the rest of the season, I think. Right? I think he
yeah,
just hurt his knee or his back. So they're like he was the backup running back. I'm not sure who else they have, but yeah, to your point, they have to get the running game going somehow. That's
yeah.
not just only Josh Allen.
So again, I'm pretty sure this is accurate because they have AJ on here, so it has to be pretty accurate. Oh, they also have Puna Ford on here. I just saw that. Remember him? Uh, their backup running back is Damian Harris too. So
From
I mean,
the Patriots?
yeah. So I mean, they have again. We're assuming this is accurate and up to date. Please don't kill us if we're wrong. Um, I saw people get really sensitive about that for some reason.
They get so mad at us. It's like I'm sorry.
Like we did this to them. Anyway. Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, I mean they have some decent running back depth, but it is kind of baffling the fact that they have not been able to get this figured out yet. Like,
Yeah.
just a hypothetical situation that obviously didn't play out. But what's 2 first-round picks to this team? I mean, why not sit here and offer Saquon? Imagine what Saquon could do for this team if he was here.
Yeah. Would it be pointless to bring in Dalvin Cook?
Oh, I don't think it'd be pointless. I think he would potentially improve the run game, but again, we haven't watched much of James Cook, and I think he's just going into his second year, correct?
Yeah, I think he was rookie last year. Yeah.
So we don't know what he can become. Mm-hmm. And Dalvin Cook, as we kind of discussed, while he had a great last year, his explosive numbers seem to be down, and so it kind of suggested to us that he might be maybe not on the decline, but he was maybe more set up by a good offensive line that made it a little bit easier for him. Think Josh. No, that could be an improvement for them. Again, it's just kind of what I'm talking about. Like, what's 2 first-round picks to this team? Why not sit here and call Las Vegas and say, hey, we'll give you 2 firsts, and we'll pay Josh Jacobs the 14 or 15 million, whatever it is that he wanted. Granted, is that a great long-term strategy? No, probably not. But you need something to get over the hump, or else you're in this perpetual, almost Super Bowl window, which we've seen with Buffalo before, going 0-4 and 4 straight Super Bowls. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, again, that's why I kind of wonder, like, why not just make that call, make that splash move to fix what's kind of essentially your only deficiency on this entire team.
Yeah, I feel like they have to make some sort of splash, what you were saying, because, I mean, it's not like the rest of the comp in the AFC is going to get worse anytime soon.
Yeah.
Mahomes young, Burrow is young, Lamar Jackson's still there,
yep.
And then we'll talk about a team later who might be around for a while too, who also has a younger quarterback. I'm not going to spoil it yet, but
and we're talking about the whole conference right there, but you need to think about the whole AFC as itself too. I mean, you have the Dolphins who are getting better. You have the Jets who just got Aaron Rodgers and are getting better, it seems, every year. I mean, they just had the offensive and defensive rookie of the years. Yep. You have the Patriots who, the Patriots.
Coach Philly there, and that's pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, even within their own, their own little division there, they at any point they could be slipping and falling back. Yeah. All the other teams are not winning. They're getting better every year. So why not just make that big move to really just solidify that and get over the hump?
Yeah, I really wish they were able to get Hopkins. I feel like that would have helped this team a lot too. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't agree on price. What it seems like from the outside in. Again, Bills fans, don't kill me if I'm wrong about that, but it seemed like Hopkins didn't like the price tag, what they offered him. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of wonder how much it really would have made a big difference for the team, because I mean, Gabe Davis is no slouch. I mean, he's their deep threat. He makes spectacular catches for them all the time. It seems like every highlight you see, it's more likely it's Stephon Diggs, but I mean, half of them have to be Gabe Davis just toe tabbing the sideline in the end zone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great number 2. He doesn't get the recognition he should, but he's a great number 2 receiver. I mean, they still also have,
don't kill me for this. I think my opinion on him is a little bit skewed because of like fantasy football stuff. Because there's one week he'll go like 20 points, and the next week get like 4, and next week be 20 again and be 4. It's like it's so like hot and cold with him. But again, that's just fantasy stuff. So
yeah, he's not a great fantasy option, obviously. But I mean, and kind of what you just said, 1 week he's here, 1 week he's there. That's great for number 2 because that shows that Gabe Davis is sitting here picking up the slack when it needs to be picked up. If you bring in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, now you're trying to split one football 3 different ways or 2 different ways. Because Stephon Diggs needs to get his touches and needs to get his catches. Oh my God, did you just have an earthquake?
Dude, I just like tornado kicked the fuck out of my table.
I didn't know if you had an earthquake when your corgi dropped his dump truck of an ass on the ground.
Right. I'm gonna move this chair out the way. Here we go.
All right. You good? You still over there? You're fine?
Oh man, something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I just feel like Stephon Diggs is going to need to get his touches. If you're sitting here now trying to feed 2 mouths with 1 football, it's just I don't see how that would necessarily work out in the best long term. But again, I think I just really kind of wonder why not just sit here and make that call. If and they've openly admitted like the run game is our biggest weakness. We need to fix our run game. We need to get this. Like, so why not just make that call? Get Saquon, get Josh. There's so many. Here's another one, Jonathan Taylor. Why not call Indianapolis right now and say, hey, I know you said you weren't going to trade him, but 2 firsts. We'll take him off your hands.
Something.
I think
money's probably the biggest issue right now for them.
I know, but the way the contracts work with these teams, again, that's why I said it's not a great long-term strategy. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, like, you can do this and you'll be fine. But there's a way you can work the deal to where he costs $4 million this year, but then you have 3 dead years of having to pay that out. And sure, it's going to hurt for those 3 years that you're paying this guy that maybe isn't on the roster, isn't worth the money, or you had to lose, a Gabe Davis, or you had to lose one of your other depth pieces. For sure, there's going to be consequences to it. I'm not saying I'm not living in fairy tale land here, but I'm saying if it gets you that Super Bowl, isn't it worth it? To finally get the validation after all these years.
Yeah, that's fair.
Moving on to the playoffs. The Ravens and Vikings will not make the playoffs in 2023. Every year, Colin Cowherd does this segment on his show, The Herd. And they've apparently found that every year, 3 teams who made the playoffs previously will not make it the next season. We are not as foretelling as the great Colin Cowherd is, or bad Colin Cowherd is, however you feel about him. There's no wrong answers with that man. But we're going to see if we can't try to predict 2 teams that made the playoffs in 2022 that are going to miss it in 2023. We're going to start with B. Do you want to take the NFC?
I sure will. So this is the easier answer here because I think it's pretty obvious. So the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm sorry, y'all not going to make the playoffs this year. I hope you guys don't attack me that much or aren't as triggered with that statement because I think we all know what type of roster y'all have. You guys lost Tom Brady, who is not a slouch, as you can say. And who's even starting quarterback right now? Is it a battle between Kyle Flask and Baker Mayfield?
Kyle Trask. Yeah, I think it's Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield.
That's how you say his name. I ain't gonna fucking say his name. So, again, sorry. Yeah, sorry for botching the name, but I'm not sorry for my opinion that the Bucks will not be making the playoffs for this upcoming season. Maybe if y'all get Caleb from USC, you guys might have a chance next season, like maybe a year after that too. But let's just see what happens. My second team, the Vikings. I am sorry, you guys will not be making playoffs this upcoming season either. I say that with a little bit of doubt because the NFC as a whole is a lot weaker than the AFC. So maybe y'all can sneak into a wild card spot, maybe if you guys get 9 wins. But I think the chances of that might be a little bit harder just because they're going through a little bit of I don't know if a rebuild is the right term, but reload. They're trying to revamp their core, try and get younger, but still have Kirk Cousins there. I think he's still. I think he is overhated in general. I think he's at least a top 12 quarterback. Yeah. So, but I say with that, my last statement is I think the Vikings will not be making the playoff. Instead, I think the Lions will, because I think they'll win the North, and then I think the Saints will, because I think they'll win the NFC South.
Yeah, and I think for Bucs fans, hopefully that won't come as too much of a surprise. I think, honestly, for the long-term health of the franchise, it might be better if they don't make the playoffs this year, which I know is kind of a weird thing to think of. But a comparable situation could be, like the Seahawks, where, they made the playoffs this past year with Geno Smith, and he's seemingly turned into, a great quarterback overnight. But what do the Seahawks do if Geno Smith flails this year and reverts back to the Geno Smith that we've always kind of known? Now you're stuck in a little bit of a purgatory situation to where you might not be close enough, or the talent's not there to get you to the first overall pick and do a Caleb Williams. Well, there might not be a Caleb Williams type prospect there, I should say. So, I don't think the Bucs roster is bad enough to get them the number 1 overall pick. But if they can finish the year with the number 5, for example, it's much easier than to trade up to the number 1 or number 2 if they like Drake May. Or you still have Michael Penix. This seems like a really great year for this upcoming draft. It seems like a great year for quarterbacks anyway. So, again, I think it'd be more beneficial for the health of the franchise in the future anyway if they don't. Picking at 20 just might not be the move this year. Yeah. As for the Vikings fans, I know you're not saying that. I'm sorry. I know you said you weren't, you didn't mean it with any animosity towards the Vikings fans. We both know that's a little bit of a lie.
Dude, Viking fans talk so much trash for no reason.
They were sharing that video of Justin Fields, and I know you enjoyed saying that they weren't going to make the playoffs just a little bit there.
It felt good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I was kidding. Yeah, obviously that makes sense with what you're saying. The defense is going to be a lot weaker this year. They cut off a lot of aging players. You got some young guys that you're going to need to step up. Usually rookies struggle in the first year. Probably in 2024 they might be back. 2025 they might be back, but I don't think they'll be gone for too long because you have Kirk Cousins, so you're always in good competition when you have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, for sure.
I also like their draft too. I agree with you on that one. As for the Saints, yeah, Derek Carr is going to be an upgrade over who did they have last year? Andy Dalton, and it was a weird drama with Jameis Winston.
With Jameis Winston. He got hurt, and then they didn't give him the job back. They went with the red rifle for the rest of the season. So
yeah, so you're obviously going to get an upgraded quarterback there at Derek Carr. You're playing in a weakened NFC South, so you got the Bucs, the Panthers who are still rebuilding, and the Falcons who I think are near 2 of a rebuild. So you probably have the best chance there with that one. Yeah. Flipping it over to the AFC East, and I love how I've had this one because I'm kind of getting the feeling that the fans really like you. You always say the nice, fluffy stuff, and then I say the hard stuff. And they're like,
this guy love everyone.
I know. No. They're like, oh, this guy over here, he's awesome. He says all the right things. I meant he's an asshole. He's just no. I'm kidding. Sometimes the truth is hard.
People love you. We just have to give them the hard truth sometimes.
We? No, I'm just kidding. I feel like Uncle Phil. We? No, I'm just kidding. All right, I don't mind being the bearer of bad news. It's okay. Baltimore, I think you guys, it's tough. They're in the great NFC. Oh, yeah, Baltimore. They're in the great NFC. AFC North. You have a lot of competition. The reason I'm going to get to you in a second why we think you're not going to make the playoffs, but you are in a tough division that plays a huge role in it. The Dolphins. Again, same kind of reason. You're in a tough up-and-coming division. You do have the Buffalo Bills who are going to repeat there. You now have the Jets who have Aaron Rodgers. The Patriots, they're still the Patriots, so we're going to kind of eye roll on that one. But there's a lot of great up-and-coming teams in the AFC South right now, and there's only so many wild card spots to go around. But I think the Jets will replace the Dolphins probably as a wild card team. But I think the second team is going to also be the reason why Baltimore and the Dolphins don't make it. I think they're going to play a larger role in both of it because they're going to steal a wild card from both of them. Because the AFC North is more likely still going to go to the Bengals. But they're a surprise team this year. We'll get into that segment after. But it's the Pittsburgh Steelers who we think are going to come out of nowhere. And I don't think people are paying enough attention to them. They have such a great roster. We kind of went over it a little bit, and we'll talk more about it in this next segment. But they are stacked at every position. I think they're primed for a breakout, and I think because of that, they're going to be able to just hop in there and just barely edge out Baltimore in a game, barely edge out the Dolphins and take that third or second wild card spot. So those are the teams that have not making it: Baltimore and the Dolphins, and I think the Steelers and Jets are the ones that are going to replace them. Obviously, the Jets traded for Aaron Rodgers, and that's, when you're training for a multi-time MVP, that has to factor into your decision on why you think a team is not or is going to make the playoffs. So, what are your thoughts, Pete? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm wrong somewhere?
I think I do agree with you, Emmett, because it's tough, man. I know Raven fans will be on our neck about this, but there's so much talent in the AFC. Some good teams are going to be left out.
Exactly.
You can't let everyone in. The North, the AFC North is going to be tough. To your point, I think the Steelers are they're a dark horse pick to at least finish second in the AFC North and go take a wild card spot. I don't see why they can't. They finished 9-8 last year. I know we'll go more in depth about this in the next segment. And the Jets are my dark horse team too. I think that if Rodgers can stay healthy, I know we just gave a lot of praise to the Bills and see what they can do to make a Super Bowl run. But what if the Bills slip up a couple games throughout the season? The Jets are there, and what if it comes down to a late season matchup between the two to take the AFC East? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that could happen. I think that's a reasonable expectation that the Jets are going to be there if Rodgers can stay healthy.
Right. I think that's a tough part about all this is, we and me in particular in this case, because the words come out of my mouth here. I don't think the Dolphins are bad. It's like you said, there's only so many spots and there's so many good and up and coming teams in the AFC. It's just unfortunate, but someone's going to go 9-8 and miss it, or someone's going to have a catastrophic injury and their season is going to be lost because of it.
Right.
Right. It happens every year.
And the Dolphins are another team. We could be completely wrong about them, and then they just catch on fire if Tua can stay healthy. So it's so hard to kind of gauge the AFC. I had it easy. We'll talk about the NFC. So you definitely had the hard topic.
Yeah, I was going to say the NFC is much easier. You can see and look and go, well, the Vikings obviously got rid of a lot of players, so obviously they're not going to make it.
Right.
Or the Buccaneers lost Tom Brady. Of course, they're not. They're going to have a down year. It's just the AFC, man. That is tough. It's tough to play in the AFC right now. There's too many talented teams. I mean, even Baltimore's. That's a great team. They got a new play caller. I think is really going to help Lamar Jackson unlock some more of his passing potential. They did sign Odell Beckham Jr. It's just, again, unfortunate. I think they're just going to be one of the odd mans out in the NFC or the AFC North, and I think same thing with the Dolphins.
Yeah,
I really like Mike McDaniel.
I want to make this point clear too. We're not saying we don't think the Ravens and Dolphins are going to be awful teams this year. That's it's not what we're saying. We're saying the margin of error is so close in the AFC that some team with a really good quarterback is going to be left out because there's so many there.
Exactly. Like I said, that's why I really hope Dolphins and Ravens fans, if you watch this to the end, and I really hope you do. We know our average retention time for our audience does not get them there. But if you guys are able to watch to this point, please understand we do really still like the Ravens and we still really like the Dolphins. We think they're great teams. It's just a numbers game. It's a strength of schedule. It's where are you playing, and we'll talk more about why we think the Steelers will be able to make that jump based on their schedule. But I think that kind of wraps up. Let's instead of just keep hinting at, why don't we just get into this next segment? So Ravens fans, you made it this far, stick with us a little bit longer, or wait till tomorrow when the Steelers segment comes out and watch that then. But perfect plug into this. Can the Steelers make the playoffs this year and run it to the Super Bowl? Probably not, but they can make the playoffs. We feel pretty confident in that they will make it to the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. Laundry list of reasons why, but the most prominent one that I know a lot of people these days talk about is their strength of schedule. I believe we looked it up they have the 25th ranked strength of schedule, or easiest schedule would be another way to say it.
Yeah,
they do play a lot of teams this year that are rebuilding, which definitely is going to help them a lot. They have an improved O-line. I know they signed Isaac. Oh my gosh, how do you say his name?
I don't know how to say his names. I can't even help you. I'm the worst with names.
We're gonna act like we know him personally. He's a great dude. We'll leave it at Isaac. Isaac, who signed from Philadelphia to play left guard, in state, moved state to state teams, in-state teams, from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. He's going to be the new starting left guard, and he's extremely talented. And again, I apologize if we don't know his last name, but he's so cool. I think he should just go by Isaac. They also drafted Broderick Jones from Georgia in the first round of the draft this year, who looks like an absolute stud. So the improved O-line is really going to help out Najee Harris's run game. Kenny Pickett, it'll help with his development, less pressure on him. I think they had one of the worst ranked O-lines last year, you were saying, right?
So as of right now, PFF has their O-line ranked 12th, which is up 4 spots compared to last season.
Okay, so 16 and 12. I mean, that's still a pretty big jump there. And then if we kind of go through their skill positions, I mean, we have Pickens, who's been a human highlight reel all training camp so far. They still have Deontay Johnson, who's a stud. They have Allen Robinson. I don't know if you guys remember that. They traded for Allen Robinson for peanuts. And they actually signed Patrick Peterson. Again, we're not sure how much he can still play. He is a little up there in age, but it's still Patrick Peterson. So the wide receiver room honestly kind of looks like one of the best in the league. That probably doesn't get talked about enough. They also signed Akeem Butler. Just going to give a shout out to him, who was in the XFL, I believe, and I think he led the league in receiving yards. He looked like a stud from the games that I kind of saw from there. I think he played for the Battlehawks, if I remember that right. They also have Calvin Austin III. I believe they drafted him out of Memphis a couple of years ago, and Miles Boykin still. So, I mean, they have to have one of the deepest receiving rooms in the NFL. And then to back it up at tight end, they still have Pat Freiermuth, who's one of the top tight ends in the league. He's a great dude, great tight end. He can catch, he can block, he does all the things you want out of the tight end position. And then to back him up, they signed this 6'8", 6'7" giant named Darnell Washington out of Georgia, who made all the guys there look like children, who again has been making highlight plays in OTAs and training camp. So and that's just the offense that we're talking about here.
Yeah, they have so much talent across the board. I didn't realize their receiver room was that deep. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I didn't realize this. So we also really like their defense. Specifically, the guy I like the most that they drafted this year was Nick Herberg out of Wisconsin. Just an absolute disruptor. We've talked about him in our rookie segment. We've talked about him all throughout. The dude is a monster. And apparently, from my understanding, he's been tearing it up at training camp. Just look unblockable. And I was looking at the depth chart because I have the depth chart here for the Steelers. And I saw Nate Herberg for right guard. And I was like, oh, is the depth chart fucked up? Like, am I looking at this wrong thing again? Oh my gosh, no. And I was like, oh, nope, they have his brother. Nick Herberg is the guy from Wisconsin that is drafted. Nate Herberg is apparently a right guard for them as well.
Interesting. So, I didn't know that. Okay.
I know.
That's cool.
I thought I'd heard about that before, but I think this is the first time I really just kind of saw and caught it. Pittsburgh loves linking up brothers in the NFL.
Yeah, it's like a whole family thing too, because they have Joey Porter Jr.
Yep,
playing corner now for them.
Yep, they did it with the Watts too for a while. There, I don't know if.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah. I know they were trying really hard to get JJ Watt there too, but he came out with the story of why he actually didn't sign with Pittsburgh was. TJ was in contract negotiations at the time, and he didn't want to feel like he was taking money out of TJ's mouth to feed himself. So, super nice dude. JJ Watt is unbelievably nice man. And they also drafted Keanu Benson, another guy we talked about in our rookie segment out of Wisconsin, defensive lineman, team captain all 4 years, who's been amazing. They still have Cameron Hayward. They still have TJ Watt, should be back this year. They just signed Alex Highsmith. I think it was a 3-year, $70-something million deal. He had 14.5 sacks last year. So, I mean, even at edge, if you're looking at it, they might have one of the deepest edge rooms, defensive line rooms in the NFL as well. They just have edge rusher after edge rusher after edge rusher. It's insane. They also signed Kwan Alexander.
Yeah, I was about to say, they're too deep really impresses me, especially on defense. They have Keanu Neal, who played a good amount of time for the Falcons, second string strong safety for them right now.
Yep.
Marcus Golden, who played a good amount of ball for the Giants, I believe, and maybe the Cardinals.
Arizona. Yeah, Arizona. I remember him back when he was in Arizona.
Playing second string strong linebacker to stand for them. Yeah, Naquan backup. I don't know. He listed at LILB, so maybe just the left and inside backer. I would kind of they run a 3-4 defense, right? So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe he's playing like the Will.
Yeah, probably
or the Mike. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I actually didn't know that they were this solid. Mostly because I don't want to pay attention to the Steelers that much, but
yeah,
people are definitely sleeping on them.
Oh, for sure. And then still, I'm mean, just Minka Fitzpatrick here or Joey Porter Jr. I mean, they just seem like an insanely talented team that's peaking right at the right time. You know, Kenny Pickett's going to his second year. I know he took, I think, half the games his first year, splitting them with Mitchell Trubisky, somewhere in that range there. You know, he gets a whole season to go out there and perform. We should see a lot of growth from him. And again, they play the 25th weakest schedule in the NFL. And that plays such a huge role into whether you're going to make the playoffs or not. So we actually, at least I went, we went through and looked at their schedule, and we felt confident that they could pull out a 10-6 season. And if you're really into sports betting, I think their over-under right now is 8.5 games.
Yeah, the over-under is 8.5 games. And then according to Fox Sports, their odds to make the playoffs are like plus 130-ish. So not super bad.
No. If you're looking for a great sleeper bet, you know, you can take the over on the games and you can take the playoff bet and make a little bit of money there. You know, I wouldn't go crazy here, but, you know, $100 bet wouldn't be too bad on that, I think.
I already put like $10,000 on them, so I'm already locked in.
You ever think you have a problem sometimes? You're like,
For those that don't know, I don't have $10,000 to spend on a fucking bet, so I am broke. So I was being sarcastic as hell. I'll put it like a 10-cent bet on. That's how much money I have right now.
It's okay. I took a second mortgage out to pay for this. I don't have a first mortgage, but I took a second one out.
I'm hedging my entire financial future on the Steelers winning 10 games and making the playoffs. So
yeah. Well, if you're, I would like to correct this error. We said 10-6. There's 17 games they play now, so 10-7 would be their record. I know.
didn't even catch you said that. I'm so used to hearing the 16, so.
I know. I just saw it right now. What's great is that people are watching this video are going to watch it to about 4.5 minutes where I said 10-6. And then our comment section on Twitter or YouTube is going to be full of, there's 17 games, which to all of you right now, you are correct. There are 17. I fucked up. It's going to be 10-7. So
we think they'll go 10-7, guys, not 10-6. So don't kill us. Okay. All right.
10-7.
All right.
But I hope for Ravens fans that watched our segment yesterday or watched the earlier segment, if you're watching this in the full podcast, get a little bit better of an understanding of why we were saying that we think that they're going to edge out the Ravens for the playoffs this year, and as well as for the Dolphins fans as well. There's just only so many playoff spots to go around, and the Steelers have such a great schedule lined up. They have so much talent that's ready to pop. It just seems to be a match made in heaven when they just sneak in and get that, you know, second or third wild card spot. And just, it's unfortunate that one of the other teams that are really talented are just going to have to miss out on it this year. It's just sometimes the way it rules.
Yeah. And guys, we could be more time than not, we're probably really fucking wrong. So don't take this personally. We don't have a personal like vendetta against the Ravens or the Dolphins or the Vikings. I mean, a little bit me. Or the Bucks. Like, we don't have like any personal issues with any sort of team or fan base. We're trying to give our best rational thoughts. These aren't trying to hot take you guys at all. Try to get some engagement or views like many people do. These are full like evidence, data backed support, this thoughts and teams and whatnot. Yeah.
And again, anyone that's watching this point, everything we do, every decision we make, I'm like, we give this opinion about it. It's all very detailed. It's all very researched. We try to provide you great examples why, like, for example, with the Steelers here, they have so much great young talent. They had such a great draft this past year. I mean, look what happened to the Seahawks the year prior when they had a great draft. You know, I think if they hit on those like six out of their 8 picks were like starters, I believe, in the first year. And they made the playoffs because of it.
Emmett,
so
correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But correct me if I'm wrong. You said back in April that the Steelers draft class was like your favorite draft class, right?
Yeah,
or something like that. It was like your top 3 or something like that.
I think it's my top. I think it might have actually been number 1 for me.
I think
because
so.
I was in between them and the Eagles.
So I bring that up just to show everyone, like, we're not just saying stuff just to spur up some engagement of views. Like, this has been like a long, research topic for us. Like, we're not just pulling shit out of our ass, just to say it.
And just to further up on that, on what we just mentioned with our previous video on the Steelers draft, we actually weren't the only ones that had this opinion. There's an account and a YouTube channel as well named the Mock Draft Podcast, I believe it is, who we will have a future episode with coming out here. Had the same thing. He had the Steelers as his top-rated draft as well. So again, I think it's just further evidence to show that the Steelers, they're going to be an exciting young team to watch this year. George Pickens, again, has been a human highlight reel out there. Deontay Johnson's still a stud. All the reasons we previously listed, they're going to have an explosive offense. I wouldn't be surprised if they're probably in the top 10 of total offense this year. Yeah. So don't be surprised when you see it and sitting here and see, oh my gosh, they had 6 Pro Bowlers this year. They're just a really stacked team. So I think that about wraps up this episode 13, which we did not say at the beginning. This is episode 13 for us. Should have filmed it on Friday. That would have been a little more.
That would have been dope. I should have put a whole costume on, right? Should do a whole Halloween. for Halloween, are we gonna dress up? We should for that weekend, right? We should, right? We should.
We absolutely should.
Thanksgiving, get a whole
we can go as guys that do a podcast.
Wait, what'd you say? We should do for guys to do a podcast.
Yeah, for Halloween, we should go as guys that do a podcast.
Wow, I never thought of that one. That's really, really original.
No one will believe us. Now, thank you guys for tuning in to another funny episode with us. Again, if you don't like our takes, his fault. He came up with all the ideas. I did want to give a shout out to Matt Vargas, who did help us come up with our topics for the day. It was a really great help. We were stuck at, I think we only had 2, and he provided some great ideas, great opinions of his own. So thank you again, Matt Vargas. And until next time, it's been Emmett, it's been B. You guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and whatever the last one is. But everywhere. We'll catch you guys next time.